Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this week's webinar, Chatbot Launchpad Workshop. So it's Chatbot Basics Made Easy, this session one. This is one of three. And thank you for joining us today. My name is Nick Fry. I'm the Manager of Business Development with Tourism Nova Scotia. And for those joining us for the first time, Tourism Nova Scotia works with communities and industry to attract visitors to the province and increase revenues through experience and sector development, business coaching, marketing, and visitor service. So happy you can make it here today, and really excited for the content. Now we will have a recording of this event, so if you have to leave or you'd like to share with a colleague, it will be posted within 24 hours. Within the webinar, we may discuss links or resources, and if we do, we'll make sure we share those after the fact, so you don't need to write them down or check them out at the time. We will share them after. And like any good discussion, we really encourage you to put questions in the Q&A. So a robust discussion is always moved forward by great questions. So please be engaged, ask those questions. And if something pops up after the fact, just send it our way. So really excited that you're here today, and the topic is so great. And I hope you joined us through Digiport. This is offered in partnership with Digital Nova Scotia. It's a one-stop shop of services, programs, and educational opportunities that's offered to no other tourism businesses across Canada except in Nova Scotia. So you have one-on-one support to help bridge those digital capacity gaps. So if you haven't signed up for Digiport, I would really encourage you to do so. nsdigiport.ca. If you have any questions about it, connect with us after the fact. So really excited to have Melissa Lloyd here from Aigility Hub. Melissa's presented at our digital days across the province, has so much knowledge, and is really leading in the AI field. So Melissa works with different businesses on the journey towards AI implementation through workshops, keynotes, and personalized coaching. She provides an unconventional blend of creative flair and AI-driven entrepreneurship that has transformed her business, making her a passionate advocate for AI adoption. And she really encourages and inspires entrepreneurs to embrace AI for competitive advantage, well-being, and offers fear-free training and sharing real-life implementation stories. And I think that really in the tourism context, Melissa makes that transition where you don't necessarily know about AI, and helps you understand what it is, how you can use it in your business, and really free up the time that you guys need as business owners in this really busy place. So without further ado, I'd really like to welcome Melissa to take over the screen and share some of her knowledge. So thank you for joining us, and welcome to the webinar, Melissa. Or workshop, I should say workshop.
Hello. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Superb. Okay, so I'm just, thank you, Nick. That was a wonderful introduction. I have to say, I'm so excited to be here today because this is the first Chatbot Launchpad, and it's number one of three. Like Nick mentioned, we're going to be building a chatbot for your business, just in terms of the basics. Let me know. So I do like interaction. And so that's why I requested, I'm like, oh, if I could just have a little bit of interaction from you on the other side and just being able to kind of take you through this process, it becomes easier as well. So feel free to use that chat box. Also, if you feel, if you want to put your camera on, please do. We're just going to ask you to, of course, mute yourself for this time. So I want to know in the chat who actually was able to attend the Chatbot 2.0. Was there anybody that was able to be there? Just give me a yes in the box. If you weren't, it's absolutely okay. You can go back in to Digiport and be able to watch that. And that's a really good basis in terms of a background. I see there's some yeses on the screen, so that's great. But you don't need to, of course, have been there to now be where you are today, because I'm going to kind of go through some of these basics. Now, what I want to share, something that's really, really important to me, and I know as an entrepreneur, because I am an entrepreneur as well, that it's so critical, which for all of us, time, lost time is never found again. And, we really value efficiency and can't afford to waste time, especially what I've learned on repetitive tasks. And that's where, when you get into practical AI application, like chatbots specifically, it really helps to us to streamline our operations and really reduce manual labor, which is really great. It's an extra resource for us when we don't have those particular hands or resources available. So this is where we will kind of explore a frequently asked question chatbot. Now, I know that we are all different types of businesses. And so in effort to kind of try to keep it as tailored to you, there is actually a workbook that we're going to be moving through. But when we actually we're going to be building a chatbot in BotPress. We're going to be doing a very generic, frequently asked question chatbot. And at any point as well, make sure that you take notes of your questions so that we can kind of answer those throughout. And if it's not in this session, we can, of course, answer it outside this space as well. So for those of you who do not know me, again, Nick did mention a little bit about my Aigility Hub background. But why do I do what I do? Because I've actually had multiple small businesses. Some over the last 25 years, some have been very successful and some not so much. So I've actually learned a whole lot. Now, my background, as you're probably seeing, you're like, okay, she's quite eclectic. I've got design, emotional intelligence background, and specifically a mindfulness company, which is called Doodle Breaks right now as well. And I'm an AI enthusiast, which is why I opened Aigility Hub, because I really saw an opportunity where I was putting AI implementation tools into my own business and seeing actually the incredible impact it was having. And so such impact that you could be the first to kind of know that I'm going to be on Dragon's Den actually next month for this. So the whole picture here, I'm a nature lover, really grounded, love nature, keep things simple. So if people were to say, Melissa, you were going to be speaking and teaching a chatbot Launchpad workshop, they think that I was crazy a couple of years ago. But this is the beautiful thing about artificial intelligence and the low code, no code tools that we're kind of moving into, is that you don't need to be fully technical. Yes, of course, there's technicality with some things if you're getting more and more customized, but if I've figured it out and I've been able to implement and do things, then I know that you are able to do things. And the biggest piece is trying to get yourself over that curve. And that's why I'm so excited that you're here today, because you're exposing yourself to another way that can be really helpful, meaningful for your business. So I hope that sounds okay with everybody. Know that I'm here to support you throughout the entire process. And what we're really going to go in and cover today is we will do a little intro. So if you weren't at the Chatbot 2.0, it's just a very simple kind of lead in. We're going to be actually mapping out our chatbot purpose, which is so important. We're going to be mapping goals and objectives, a conversational flow, and we're going to get into knowledge bases. Now, if that makes no sense to you, this is why it's perfect that you're here. We're going to go through each one step by step. Now, a lot of people, when they hear, oh, chatbots, I want to kind of do that, they want to jump in right away and just start building. And one of the most important steps that many people just often skip is to understand, well, what is the actual purpose of my chatbot? So when we go through this session today, please have a pen and paper. Make sure that you have your workbook. I know that Sunny and the team have actually put that in the chat, so you can just download that and it's fillable, so you don't even need to, it's very simple. So we're going to fill in as we go, and just keep an open mind. That's what's the most important today. If you're in a new kind of learning environment, keep an open mind, and no question is a silly question. So keep those on standby. So what is a chatbot? Before I kind of dive right in, it's really, it's a virtual assistant essentially that really can be designed to respond instantly to common queries. And, you might hear them being called digital assistants, AI agents, chatbot, they're all the same kind of thing. They're all doing that very specific purpose where they're kind of being able to give us information back when we're asking a question, when we're inputting. And we can do that through voice, or we can actually do that through text. And, when people kind of come into the chatbot space, they go, well, actually, how does it actually work? And that's a really important question, because when you're starting to design a chatbot, you kind of have to start to understand this sequence. And that's what today is going to be about, is kind of understanding how you almost design a conversation. instead of just jumping in and just going, yeah, I'm going to put a chatbot together, we need to actually be really intentional how we move our users through and how it actually works. So if you can look on the left-hand side of that screen, you get input from a user, somebody's asking a question. And this is where the chatbot will then go into the second part where it analyzes that user's request. So it wants to really understand, what are you actually asking? And then it goes into a phase of, okay, I'm trying to analyze what the user request is, and I'm going to actually identify an intent or an entity. Now, people often go, well, so what's an intent? What's an entity? Well, intents are like the main goal or your action that you want your chatbot to understand. So for example, if you say, I want to book a room, the intent is actually to book a room. That's what the intent is. Entities are the specific details or pieces of information that go along with the intent. So for example, if I've put in, I want to book a room in Halifax for 3 days or 3 nights, the entities are actually Halifax, which is the location, and 3 nights is the duration. So the chatbot really needs to understand both the intent, the main goal, and then the specific details, which are the entities, and able to help, respond to you properly. So oftentimes we, as the users, and when we're inputting, we just say whatever we want to say, whatever way we want to. Well, it's the back end of a computer that has to actually understand all these parts in order for it to give a really kind of a response back that's a really good response. So I want you to be able to, again, if you don't take all this on board, it's okay. We're going to start to walk through it. But this is how we start to break down the relationship between a user and a chatbot. Everybody good so far? Give me a thumbs up in the chat box. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I want to make sure everybody's with me. So the benefits of chatbots, what's really important, and thank you for everyone that decided to fill out the sheet and say, where the pain points were, what they were wondering about this workshop, because it always gives me a really good indication of what you're looking for. Now, one question was about, why, what are these benefits? Like, why are we even doing this? And so some of the key benefits are instant communication is really the new norm of today. And so what that means is the chatbots can actually provide instant communication to your clients or potential customers. And that's a huge piece because there's an expectation, and I don't like to use that word lightly, but because of our habits online, especially over the last few years, we've become less, patient, and we expect information quickly. They actually say that you've got 8 seconds to kind of capture somebody's attention. And from that point, everything starts to go downward in terms of them kind of leaving that periphery, and actually, so that customer relationship is so important because that's really part of conversion. So being able to be 24/7 in terms of availability as a chatbot, which is what it's so brilliant at, means that you can as well sleep at night. And if people are expecting instant kind of answers, then you know that it's being taken care of, so that when you get up in the morning, you have an answer. Or maybe you're a company that you're out all day. And so just knowing that that customer support is so important. And it's not meant to answer every single question. And we're meant to really look at how we can start to design our conversations in our chatbot so that whatever, the heavy lifting is at the forefront, it means it's satisfying for that customer to have that 24/7 support. And I'm going to also go through a lot of this part when we start to get into the design process. The next thing is it's cost savings. Let's face it, if we don't have the resources, then we are, and we don't have the ability to take care of customers, or we are actually, perhaps we've got somebody doing multiple jobs, it's really becomes very difficult for a business. So there is a lot of cost savings in actually employing or deploying a chatbot in your infrastructure, whether it's through your social channels or whether it's through your websites. And then of course you can increase your revenue. There's lots of things, and one of the examples was, of course, tour companies. They increase by $60,000 because, again, that friction point of knowing that you can answer a question instantly for a customer and book through a chatbot, that can, of course, be a huge reason why you have increased revenue. And then it offers powerful insights. That's a big thing, right down to analytics, what people are asking for. You learn more about your customers, which is amazing. So what the first part is really, again, trying to understand, okay, chatbots, what can they be used for? And I want to highlight, these are just a couple of different things, travel assistant, booking and reservations, your itinerary planning, customer service, your pricing, your local recommendations, your reviews, reducing response time. There's a whole lot of ways that a chatbot can be helpful. But one thing is, and I'd love for you to open up your actual worksheet. So if you open up this PDF, it's called Chatbot Launchpad Workshop. We're going to start to work through something that's going to save you a whole lot of time. So most people just want to jump in and start designing, but this is where you have to design first. So if you go to page 1, you're going to start to see what is the main purpose of your chatbot. So of course, I gave you some examples over here. But what I want you to do is just fill in something. And this is not like, oh my gosh, I put this down and now I don't know, I want to change my mind. That's absolutely okay. I just want to start you in this process. So is it for customer support? Is it for, is it a booking assistant for you? Is it an information provision? Is it giving you the weather? Like, just take a moment just to think about what's the primary purpose of why you even want to employ a chatbot in your business. So take a moment, write it down. And like I said, there's opportunity to change this at any point. You're going to also see that there's little note areas on this in these specific workshop, this little PDF. Please write things down if something comes to you as I'm speaking as well. Now, if you've got something in terms of a primary purpose, what I want to move over to is actually going into your goals and objectives. And people go, okay, what are goals and objectives? And I want you to think about that your chatbot is going to have very specific needs. And you want to consider how the chatbot can enhance that customer experience and streamline your operations. And what I want to do is just show you a couple of examples. So the examples are, and maybe you only have 2, so that's absolutely great. And again, we're not spending too much time in this space, so just jot down whatever you can. In this example, I want to assist customers in booking a hotel room or tour packages and a restaurant reservation. So my objective would be to really enable customers to easily book an accommodation, tours, and activities through the chatbot. So that's an example of your goal and your objective. A second example would be, I want to respond to common inquiries about local attractions, transportation options, and travel requirements. So my goal or my objective would be to answer frequently asked questions and provide timely assistance to customers. So I've given you these examples because in this workbook, on the next page, you're going to see list 2 specific goals or objectives you want your chatbot to achieve. So you can go in here and write these 2 or 3 objectives that what you're trying to create. Now, I do want to share when you're coming up with these, what's really, really important is to keep that chatbot's purpose and goal really focused to that business need. Because again, we can kind of be pulled in all different directions. And again, consider that chatbot to enhance your customers' experience and then streamline your operations. So we'll take a moment to fill in what those goals or objectives will be. Don't worry about the wordsmithing at this point. We're not trying to perfect. If you need some other examples, you're going to go to the next page, which is page 3, where you're going to see different ideas. So the booking assistant, travel planning, customer support, local information. So that's just going to help you start to kind of kickstart. Okay, I get it. I have a goal. I have an objective for my actual chatbot. So let's take a couple minutes to kind of move in here and fill in these areas. If you've got any questions, let me know in the chat box as well. But for right now, I'm going to just give you a couple of minutes. Take a moment to think. If anybody's stuck as well, just let me know. Just say stuck in the chat box and we'll unmute you and have a conversation. What's really important as well, and in when we get into these types of workshops, is to make sure that it's applicable with your business. So it's easy to kind of give a basic overview of things, but I think what's really important is I want you to think about your own scenario, what's happening, so that you can kind of move that dial ever so slightly. Now, if anyone's done, just let me know by a thumbs up. I'm not rushing anyone right now because you can still spend more time, but just give me a heads up where you're at. And if you don't finish, it's not a problem because you can always come back to this workbook. Does everybody have at least one goal or objective for your chatbot? I see some thumbs up. That's good. I just want to make sure that we're still here. We'll have a couple more minutes. Like I mentioned, if you need some more ideas, go on that back side. So page 3, that's got different examples. And remember as well, as we move through this Launchpad, as you gain and build your knowledge, things may change. So be okay with, like, what I want to do today is really just to get something down. So we've got a bunch of thumbs up. That's amazing. We are going to be kind of moving forward in about a minute. All right, everyone. So once you have your goal or your objective, the next part is mapping a conversational flow. And people go, okay, what do you mean by conversational flow? And this kind of involves a couple different parts, but I'm just going to just hold just for a second because I know Ashley has a question, but I don't see the option to turn my mic on to ask. Ashley, that's a great question. Maybe our tech team can actually help with that because I'm very happy for you to ask a question. And if something happens where we can't, Ashley, can you make oh, here we go. Sunny's on it. That's great.
I think it works for me now.
Hello.
You can hear me okay?
Certainly can.
Okay, perfect. My question is like the very beginning, like the purpose of a chat bot.
Yep.
What if you have like multiple things that you think it would be helpful for? Like, is it best to like narrow it down to one and start there, or can a chatbot do multiple things?
That is a great question. It can actually do multiple things. But what I would say is that when you get too many things, like if you're thinking of, oh, I'm going to do a frequently asked question chatbot, and then I'm going to pair it with booking online, you can absolutely do that. The more you add to your chatbot, the more confusion you're going to provide for, of course, the user. It's going to be too much. So that's a very, very valid question. It doesn't have to be one, but a main focus is the umbrella, and then you can add a couple other things to it. Is that helpful?
That's helpful. Yes, thank you.
I'm glad you asked that question because I'm sure other people are going, hang on a second, I wanted to do a couple things. So thank you, Ashley. Okay, let's go and move into mapping your chatbot's conversation flow. So I want to talk about basically the steps that you're going to need to start to identify key information or actions that your chatbot needs to gather or perform. Now, we just talk and we just share stories and we interact and our customers are asking questions and we never really think about how things are broken down. Well, when we're designing a chatbot, we really have to think about those pieces. So, mapping a conversational flow, and if you want to follow along in your workbook, there's an example on page 4. So, you would put in your common user intent or scenario. So for me, I'm going to give you an example. I want my chatbot to answer frequently asked questions about my business. And then you get into the conversational flow, which means what is the actions that your chatbot needs to gather or perform in order to be able to have this conversation. So if you can see that there's steps. So in step 1, it's I'm going to greet the user and ask how I can assist them. That's like the first part. The second is, I need to identify the user's question or query. The third step next is to provide a relevant answer from your frequently asked question. And I put knowledge base in here because I'm going to teach you about this. But that part is meaning that you just want to be able to answer whatever they're asking for. And then after you've answered it, in step 4, it's all about, okay, ask the user if they need any more additional information or clarification. And then if they've asked it something or they said great, then of course you'll answer again. And this is all going to this will come together in just a moment. And then the step 6 is, well, thank the user and ask if there's anything else that you can help with. So what this is doing is this is starting to break down your conversational flow and to get you to think about, what does a chatbot actually have to do in order to respond to my user? Because sometimes we don't break information down like that. And when you're going into kind of mapping this conversational flow, we're trying to really think about just natural conversation. So you can even play it out as just a little, a little role model in terms of a scenario in your own mind of like, how do I create a natural conversation and what's the breakdown of this conversation into logical steps? That's really what it comes down to. And that's why I broke it down into steps. So it's really important when you're going through this to use simple, easy to understand language. Now, we're not going to get into you doing your own. There is a spot in the workbook for you to kind of start to think about that. But I want to move into the next part, which is a little bit easier to start to understand what do you mean by step by step by step if I'm trying to design my chatbot. I want to ask if there's anyone here that would be able to have a conversation with me. If you want to just say it's very, very simple. In the chat, let me know if you're willing to for me to ask you some questions about your business. I mean, I'm going to be a potential user. Anybody up for it? It's going to be really simple, but just so we can start to see some dialogue. Oh, I must have someone that's going to give. Sure, Misty. Okay, Misty. Sunny, can you unmute Misty? I'm going to ask Misty a couple questions. This is nothing difficult.
Got it.
Great, fantastic. Is that you, Misty?
Yep, that's me.
Amazing. Thank you for volunteering. So Misty, do you own a business?
Yes,
Okay, what is your business called?
Cabot Discovery Tours.
Cabot Discovery Tours. Okay. And are you okay with me asking questions as you will essentially just a regular natural conversation?
Yep.
Okay. So, hi, Misty.
Hi.
I'm wondering, what do you offer with Cabot Discovery Tours?
So we offer 3 types of tours. So we offer day tours of the Cabot Trail. We offer a variety of multi-day tours, which are pick up and return to Halifax. And we offer private and custom tours.
Ah, okay. What day tours do you offer?
So our
One?
shared Cabot Trail tour leaves from Bedeck at 9 in the morning, and it usually returns about 6 in the evening. So it's a full day tour around the Cabot Trail, which is guided. And lunch isn't included.
It's included or not included?
It's not included.
Okay. Right
Frequently
on.
asked question.
So is it one tour that you offer?
So that's the shared day tour that's offered on a regular schedule throughout the season from May till October.
Okay.
And then we offer other tours, depends on, some are tied to specific, well, actually all the multi-day tours are tied to specific dates. So they're set dates and schedules.
Okay. And so if I am asking about the shared Cabot tour that comes from that picks up and drops you off back in Bedeck, how much does that cost?
So it costs $150 plus HST per person. So that comes to a total of $172.50 Canadian.
Okay. And where can I book?
You can book online on our website, www.cabotdiscoverytours.com.
Okay. So that wasn't hard, was it?
It wasn't, and the reason why I volunteered is because back to what Ashley said, my first I guess question is what you said about the logic of breaking it down, because sometimes what happens is I'll get an inquiry from somebody who basically says, we're going to be here on such and such a date, tell me everything that you can offer. And I'm worried about that type of question going into a chatbot and not being able to break down the intent and some of those or the entities, I guess.
Yeah.
far as
No,
that
definitely.
goes.
Well, and I think that we just went through a natural language conversation, and I asked specific questions because, again, you and everyone here are going to have very specific frequently asked questions. So that's a really great place to start. And if it's a okay, that's one of my pain points. How do I start to design that conversation based on people like Melissa just asking, like, what do you offer? It's so broad. You can really design that conversation and simplify it so it's very easy for your user to understand. And we went through a couple different pieces, albeit there was a lot of words, and the whole point with chatbots is to keep it simple. That's why we're going to go through the next part of our process. So I really appreciate that we went through, okay, what do you offer? How much does it cost? Where can I book it? Those are very common questions, right? So thank you very, very, very much, Misty. Next time I'm in Bedeck or I'm up in Cape Breton, I'll look forward to booking a tour. So I'm going to move into the next part of our actual workshop, which is, okay, what are we doing next? It's all about mapping a conversational flow scenario. So Misty just gave us an idea, but I want to kind of come back and go, okay, let's imagine that a family of 4 are planning their first biking holiday after a long year. They're looking at the destination because the adventure for beginners, and it's for family. They started their journey on your website. They've got full of questions and expectations. And so what kind of is next? Like, well, where does the chatbot fit into this? And this is what I love, because when you're starting to map your conversational flow, it means that you can take even the conversation that Misty and I just had, we can start to simplify it and chunk it down and break it down into something that's understood. So what you're seeing here on the screen is, remember, greeting the user and asking how you can assist them. So I gave an example for what we were just doing. Hello, my name's Timmy, and I'm your tour digital guide assistant. At any point in our conversation, say speak to a human and I'll help you with this. How can I help you today? So that's kind of like the first intro. So when you're thinking about your chatbot and your introduction, now I gave my chatbot a name, Timmy, and I also gave it an example of that. If you want to have human interaction, that you can do that. Now, maybe your business is tied that you have live chat ability. So you can actually link your live chat to your chatbot so that a human can actually intervene and be able to help. Also, you can ask a human, so that there's going to be people that don't want to deal with chatbots. And we're not trying to convince everyone with chatbots. We're trying to meet all your clients and customers at a place where they feel at ease. So even if they get their top level inquiries answered, which I have to say, the percentages are very, very high where a chatbot can answer a lot of the top questions customers have, and it just leaves them still satisfied because there was
Melissa,
an instant answer. What I
can
want
you,
to say, oh,
Melissa,
sorry.
can you? Oh no, this is a me question. I'm just
Yeah,
jumping in because I just think that like as I'm picturing this from a business owner standpoint, like the goal,
yeah.
of course, is to save time, and everyone thinks they hate chatbots because they hate chatbots from like 6 years ago or 2 years ago. So like I would I would want to. I don't know. I hate to give them that out right away when they're like they already think they don't like chatbots, but you already told us like new chatbots can kind of address most of the questions they want. So how
Thank
do you
you.
keep them on the line, right? Do you know what I mean? Because people are like, oh, I want a human right away, but really 90% of their questions can be answered this way. But I feel like
And
if we say that right off the bat, then we're going to be like, they're like, nah, I don't want to do this.
yeah, but do you know what? It's about the user journey and experience. And so I appreciate that comment because again, some people there'll be maybe more complex conversation and your chatbot, the way you design it will help if it can't answer something.
Mhm.
But I think being able to give the opportunity to send it to a human if necessary, and it depends on your business. Okay, so excuse me. It depends on your business because ultimately, I like the idea that, sorry, I have a terrible cold. Um, this is going to play up now. Okay, so it is important to be able to give people options. If that's something that you're like, no, I don't want to do it, you don't have to. Some chatbots don't ever give the option, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of information right now where people have certain perceptions of chatbots, and some people just want to go right through to a human. If they know that they can ask that, that's great.
I guess my last thought, and I agree, like everything you're saying makes complete sense, but not but I would say, and a lot of like, Misty would just saying like, she probably spends most of her day in the summer on the road. So like, there's really not an option to go to a live person theoretically, right? So, is there a way to like modify like the messaging to be like,
Yes.
chatbots have come a long way, give me a try. But if things don't work out, we're always available, or something like that.
So this little piece that I put in front of you now, it doesn't need to be even part of it. It depends on your company, what your structure is, how you run your company day to day. Um, something may be like um, people will decide how they want to engage with your chatbot, and that's where the designing of your chatbot flow is really, really important. So we're not fixed on this particular text. You can change anything for your business. That's why I love designing chatbots because you can be so like from a brand tone perspective, you can be playful, you can be totally in alignment with how you actually represent your business. These are details that are options. You may not want to use them, and you may pardon me, I can't believe it. I've got my first cold of like 2 years, and it happens to be this week. So don't get fixated on the actual text per se, but it may be in the evening that it's a really great option where it can actually lead you to an actual email address right away, so they can there's no friction point. They can get in touch with you as quickly as they can. Again, we can kind of go through the text in terms of how usually they're on there for a quick question. If you say, how can I help you today? They're going to put in their question, but they do know that they can go in at any point. Does that answer your question? Hopefully it does, Nick. So what family bike?
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
okay. And again, I apologize everyone that I have a cold today. So what family bike tour packages do you offer? Maybe that's something that the user is going to ask. So similar to Misty, I mean, this is where you really specifically design your process. So we have 2 family tour packages in Nova Scotia. So, and then you get into being very, very simple in terms of how you start to give information. Remember, I said keep it really less is more. So that's all part of the design process and design thinking. Now you're going to see an example on page 6 of your workbook where I've actually showed you an actual conversational flow script. And so when you actually start to zoom in, you're going to, I actually like to design these in 2 ways. And I've intentionally given you a workbook, which you'll see it says notes, and I believe it's on page, let me go over to the workbook. So you've got notes right here on page 6. You're going to, or pardon me, page 8. You're going to start to go and map your own little conversation. So some people like to just write it in Word and just be like, user, chatbot, hello, user, can you help me with X? Like, this is where you can just map out a couple frequently asked questions that you're asked all the time, whether it's through, you know, Facebook Messenger or Instagram, or if you're actually getting sent an email. It's a really great opportunity to start to map out a conversation. So when you go to page 6, this is the introduction where you can actually start to see how I start to break it down. I'm not designing any chatbot yet. I'm designing the actual conversation so I can start to understand how my chatbot's going to work. So we've got, hello, my name is Touring Timmy. I'm your digital assistant at any point. So you can be as you don't have to put human in if you don't want to. And then the user asks a question. Maybe that's your first top frequently asked question. What are your family tour packages? The chatbot comes back with an answer, right in a couple of pieces. Then the chatbot asks another question. Do you have any more questions? And then the user says, yes, what's the cost of this Culinary Delights tour that you told me about? So you can start to see that there's a sequence. And a lot of people, again, jump on, want to build a chatbot, but they don't really know what they're asking. So this is a really, really helpful exercise. And we won't, you know, this is something that you can do in your own time, start to really kind of go in and write these conversation based down so that then you can move into the next part. Does anybody have any questions based on this, this part that I'm talking about in terms of a conversational flow? You can map it in Word or in just basic Word or in this document, or you're going to start to see the example that I just showed you where it's more visual. Now, what happens here is some people are visual and they like to map things out on paper or in places like Figma, where you can actually just take blocks and map your conversation. So you do whatever's most comfortable for you, but at least get yourself into a situation where you're starting to think about that conversation. Have that conversation back and forth with yourself. Try to be your customer, be your chatbot, your respond. You're just starting to think of those steps. Now, I did mention about knowledge base. Now, knowledge bases are where your chatbot is going to get all of its information, because this is the biggest thing with artificial intelligence, with everything across the board. If you don't have data, it doesn't know how to respond. So we can build a certain amount of things in our chatbot, but we don't want it to be like the old chatbots where it's like, oh, it's just click yes, click no. We want to kind of create a more well-rounded chatbot in general. So knowledge bases are where you put all your information about your business. And I'm going to give you an example what a knowledge base is. It's the knowledge base that's going to, of course, get your chatbot to be able to respond. And it's essentially a database that you're actually building. If you're like, oh my gosh, you lost me at database, Melissa, this is how simple it is. I've given you an example of through a Word document. The Word document is kind of similar to what you see on screen, and it breaks it down into very simple basics. So an About Us section, your offerings, your prices, your frequently asked questions. So you can start to like kind of build out your own knowledge base. And it doesn't have to be complicated. A lot of this stuff comes off your website. But it does need to be organized, meaning kind of keep it as simple and organized as possible, because then the chatbot won't have a hard time pulling the information. Some Ashley just asked, can a knowledge base be an existing website? 100%. So we can link it to your website. And that is if your website has a lot of these questions answered. Sometimes we don't have frequently asked questions on our websites. And you can do specifically an actual Word doc that you can upload as your knowledge base. We're going to get more into this next week, just so you know. And actually, Carol asks, is it best to have a chatbot on each website page? Well, that's a great question. It really does depend on what your purpose of your chatbot is. You can start with one basic overarching one on the front page, or maybe it's specific to, I want to sell more tours. If you're on a product page, maybe your chatbot is there so that it's actually trying to be very, very specific to that particular product. And that's what you're trying to build the chatbot around. So you can have chatbots on different parts of your web pages. I always say, start with one, start small, and then you can start to expand. So hopefully that answers that question. You can have as many as you wish, though. It's all about helping your user. So I know that we're kind of close to time. I want to answer a couple questions as well. Today, what we've been able to see, and I hope that, because I know we have to go through this kind of rather quickly, you have that workbook. It walks you through the different pieces. So I understand time is precious, but when you're getting into chatbots, if you're like, okay, I'm going to just take a half hour, I'm going to take 30 minutes, and I'm going to start to keep my knowledge base going with chatbots, I'm going to get into this workbook and start to do a couple of things. That's a really helpful way for you to take that next step. But hopefully today you learned out how to really look at your chatbot the purpose of your chatbot, to set your goals and your objectives, and just keeping it simple. Doesn't need to be perfected. I always say 70% is enough. Create a conversational flow. So how you create a dialogue, and maybe use your frequently asked questions that people ask. And then build a knowledge base. Now, we're going to get into knowledge base next week too. So if you're real keener, and if you're not, it doesn't matter either. We have an example that we're going to use next week for our chatbot. You can actually create your own knowledge base. Again, try not to overthink this. Try to put in the information and just be okay with 70%. So I hope that this has been really helpful for the first part of our chatbot Launchpad. You are absolutely welcome to ask some more questions in the chat box, because again, if I don't answer them right this instant, I will answer them later. I have a couple questions as well about from some of you that filled in the form, and I think it will be helpful as you lead into the next part, which we're going to be using for those who are not familiar, we're going to be using BotPress. It's a no-code chatbot. It's something that I honestly believe, if I can do it, you can do it. It's really there's building blocks in here. And I love this because this is really what gets you started. Is this going to create your most elaborate, chatbot? We're going to create a basic one. It has the potential to be really elaborate. So depending on what your needs are of your business, how many people are coming through to, ask questions, will really that's something that is a really important conversation that we have outside of these this type of environment, where we can really get into the nitty-gritty of your business. But BotPress in general is an amazing place to start, and you can start using it certainly right away. So I want to also share that throughout this next 3 weeks, you can always sign up for a newsletter. I'm always trying to give you ways as well for how you can implement AI tools into your business from an operational standpoint. So feel free to scan that code. I want to get into some of these questions that have been asked, because they're really, really great questions. The first one was, are there free options for chatbot technology? So specifically, I'm going to reference BotPress. And yes, there is. I love BotPress because it offers a free plan that includes 5 bots. So for the person that asks, can I put bots on different parts of my website? Yes, and it includes 5. It includes 2,000 messages per month and 3 collaborators. So if you have people on your team. So what's important about understanding chatbot and prices is this is very individual and specific to the amount of traction that you're getting on your website. If you're, we're going to be designing one for specifically our website. So there's some variables in there. When we're using chatbots, there is costs associated with it, but unless you're having a lot of conversations, and that's something to monitor, again, we can a lot of the time use that free option for smaller businesses. The amount that it costs to kind of go up a level, again, I can give information on BotPress, but there's again some real reasonable, they've done a really great job at like pay as you go plan where, it costs $1 per month adding 5,000 messages. So you can kind of get to sense where if it's $10 a month, you get 1 gigabyte. Like it's very reasonable in terms of the costing. If you always want it free, well, that's going to be difficult because, of course, they're in there to make money as well. And number 2 is we are doing the chatbot for website. But what's really great is if you want to do chatbots for your actual social channels, super great, so that it can be the front end of just getting there. If you can't get there quickly, there's a really great way to be able to do that. And you can use that through BotPress to integrate with Instagram and Facebook and all these channels, or even SMS, or you can use some other platforms. So again, that's a kind of conversation offline with me to kind of really look at what your business, where it's what it does, how it actually would feed best in. Is BotPress the perfect one for it, or maybe it's a ManyChat? So that's another conversation. Hopefully that's helpful. Now, when you're are we able to monitor? Because of course, if we're starting to bring in variable pieces and we're designing these experiences, are we able to monitor the chatbot's responses? And I want to say, yes, you can actually monitor the chatbot responses in BotPress. So there's actually a dashboard for you that you can keep an eye on, collecting metrics, along with, how much information you're using, along with what people are asking, where they're getting stuck. This is not a said and done exercise, just like every single thing in artificial intelligence as well. It's not about, it's just like when we use software, it's not like it's constantly being updated. So you do have to realize that you have to pay attention to it. Is it a lot of attention? No, but it's not a said and done. We're not going to look at it again once we get our chatbot design. You got to pay attention where, again, there's all these different users coming into your site, and you're going to learn a lot of things through that. And that's where the analytics and the data is so very, very valuable. I'm going to kind of highlight one more question, and it kind of ties in to a little bit of Nick's question, where I'm often frustrated with chatbots, although I've seen a couple good ones lately. How do we avoid the same situation? That's a really great piece, and that's why I love nowadays. It's about being able to be very clear on that purpose. What is it actually designed to do? Creating a really effective, really great interface, and that's why BotPress kind of checks the box on that side. Being able to really map out that effective communication. So we went through very basic conversational pieces today, but really being very smart with being able to design a conversational flow, which is kind of paying attention to all different parts and kind of assuming what the user is going to ask. Also down to being able to personalize the experience for your users. So you're probably hearing a lot more nowadays is that everything's personalization. You can get into some really neat things with personalization and chatbots. And then, of course, that continuous improvement. We can't just leave it. Again, we want to make sure we collect that user's feedback from the chatbots, and we want to identify all those areas for improvement as we go. So I do hope that this has been a helpful first workshop. Next week, we'll be diving into BotPress. I will walk you through even getting an account if you don't have one. And then we'll start kind of getting familiar with inside how we start to design these conversations. We've got 1 minute. Does anybody need anything or want to have any questions? Is there anything unclear? Please feel free to let us know in the chat box, and you can be unmuted. Is there no questions?
Melissa, are they able to email you questions in between sessions?
Yeah, 100%. If you want to, I will actually put it right into the chat. It's Melissa at agilityhub.com. .com. So just one second here. Feel free to reach out and ask any questions, because I know that this is a lot of information. We try to kind of condense in these workshops. This is kind of the overview piece. So I have put in my details. Also, Sunny has put in the details. So thank you very much. I'm glad that I see some of your comments that you've enjoyed the presentation. Just remember, keep an open mind, and then next week we'll dive into the next part.
Perfect. Okay, well, I will take back over the screen. Again, thank you, Melissa, for sharing that. And I have a few questions. I'm going to keep them in until next time, just because it's always good. And give me one quick sec here.
I was gonna say, if you've got questions, write them in your workbook, and then I can at least, anything that's on your mind, just all week, just dump them in.
Bear with me. Okay. Thank you, Melissa.
My pleasure.
Okay, so that was obviously an excellent webinar workshop, and we're looking forward to next week's session. So if you're joined us today, don't forget to come next Thursday at 10, and as well as the next one, Chatbot Launchpad Workshop sessions 2 and 3. And we'll just continue to build on the learnings we had today. And if you have a colleague that you think may, benefit from this, please share it. So after that, we also have a spring tune-up digital workshop. So again, 3 sessions in a row, where we focus on, getting your digital presence ready for the summer season. So it's a spring tune-up, and we're going to cover what makes a nice looking website, get to the point, craft web content that shines, and SEO strategies for tourism websites. So that should be great. That's with Maria McGowan of Sociable Media, and I hope you're able to join us. So we recently, the TDAP program closed earlier in April, but we still have openings for the digital assistance program for communities. So it offers the opportunity to get up to $15,000 in services for municipalities, regional marketing organizations, community tourism organizations. And that's open till May 1st. So if you yourself are a member of one of these groups, or if you want to contact one of these groups and say, hey, there's a great program you should look at, check it out. The link's on the screen, but it's also on our website and Digital Nova Scotia's website. So if you have any questions around that, feel free to send us an email or give us a call. And as always, you can email us at tnsbusiness@novascotia.ca if you have any ideas for different webinars or anything you'd like to see. Our corporate website is tourismns.ca. Our consumer website, where we showcase your businesses, is novascotia.com. I encourage you to sign up for our news and resources, where you find out about things such as this webinar and/or programs or deadlines or anything that's relevant. You can also find us on X, which is formerly Twitter, at tourismns, and we are on LinkedIn at Tourism Nova Scotia. Thank you for taking your time to join us today, and have a wonderful day.